It's focused here. That should be all set. You're good at this.
Better than you think.
Yeah.
Well, it's getting harder and harder to remember that far back.
So we got to get it documented now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it has been a long journey. Well, when we decided to start Laserblast, I had heard of laser tag. In fact, my brother-in-law, it's now called Laser Web down in Dayton, Ohio. And that was the very first time I had ever played laser tag. My brother-in-law invited us to come down. He said, "This great new thing. You gotta come try it." And so Carla was not with me when we played the first time. It's funny how out of the thousands of games of laser tag I played, I remember the first one. And that's a very good experience, because I remember that first laser beam coming in me, and it had a big clunky vibrator on it. And when I felt the impact, because the vibrator came, that's it, we got to have the biggest, baddest vibrator there is, because that was a cool thing when you actually feel the laser hit you. It really stuck with me. So I was aware of it. I played once, and I got a master's degree in entrepreneurship from Indiana University, a business school. And so I knew from the time I was 18 years old that I wanted to start my own company. It's just a question of in what business. And I had spent the time since I was 5 years old and up in model airplanes. So at the time we decided to start Laserblast, we had just introduced a product for model airplanes to shoot combat. And now there's a lot of products like that everyone sees, but back 30 years ago, it was a new thing. You go out to the model airplane field and everyone's trying to, demonstrate how they're a better pilot than the other guy or fly their plane faster, but no one was flying laser combat with model airplanes. So we had just spent about 4 months developing this product and gone to press with it and gone to some model airplane trade shows. And I went to pick Brent or Mike, I think it was Brent. It was at a Zapzone in Canton, and there was the owner of the Zapzone. There must have been 500 people in this place. All the party rooms were booked. The lobby was elbow to elbow, and he was backed up an hour, like happens. So I just got myself a newspaper and sat down in the corner. I thought I'd wait till Brent's birthday party was over, and I watched what he was doing. He was bringing vests out of the vesting room, and I saw this wisp of smoke behind the counter. He was soldering, he was repairing the vests as he was trying to handle all the parties and 500 people in his lobby. And after it calmed down, it was several hours before Brent was available. I just went up to him and said, "Hey, it looks like you got some problems, buddy." I just looked over the counter at him, and he was harried from all that goings on there and soldering the equipment. He said, "Yeah, and if you knew how much I paid for it, it's just ridiculous." And so I just asked, "Why? No, how much did you pay for it?" And he told me, and I was shocked at how much he had paid for it. And it turns out he didn't overpay. I mean, that was the going rate for equipment. And so I told him, "I tell you what, I could do that for a third of that price." And he just looked at me and he said, "If you can do it for a third of the price, I'll take 3 systems." Just like that. So Carla was with me on that visit. And so I went home, and we had just finished the prototype and rollout cycle of the model airplane. It's basically the same circuit. I mean, there's a lot of similarities. And I had been working in electronics industry for 15 years at a company called KMS Fusion, and then Magnesis was a bulb and memory company. So I knew electronics manufacturing from a long time before I met Gaz. And so I knew the cost didn't have to be that high. So anyway, I spent about 3 days working up a design and a bill of material and making sure that when I said I could do it for a third, I was right. And sure enough, yeah, it was pretty easy to do it at the time. it gets harder when you get all the support and the bigger overhead. But at the time, it was Carla and I and the bill of material, and so that it's much easier to keep the cost down when you don't have all the expenses of operating a business, as I learned over the last 25 years. But so I went back to the Zapzone, and I said, well, I'll just talk to the guy again and you know, carry on the conversation where I left off. And I came back, and the guy didn't. There he was, and he had no recollection of our previous conversation. It turns out it was his brother, Golly, who looks an awful lot like Gaz. And so, you know, we quickly figured out that I was looking for Gaz, not Golly. And so I got in contact with him about a week later. We went to lunch, because I still had the day job, so I cut out from lunch, from the day job for lunch. We discussed, and halfway through lunch, he whips out a checkbook and buys the first system. Boom, right there. He said, "Well, will that take care of one of the systems?" And it was enough to pay for some of the tooling and get the design going. So at that point, we started Laserblast. At the time, we kept the name Advanced Avionics. In fact, today, the company corporate registered name in Michigan is still Advanced Avionics, with the DBA as Laserblast. And it's left over from the model airplane product. That's how Laserblast got started.
So there was a pretty good story, or maybe a little bit of a story, about how the name was chosen.
Laserblast. Maybe you remember better than I do. I mean, I have started probably 5 or 6 companies before this, and made some terrible choices as to the name.
Well, let's run down some of those. Epimetheus Corp.
Epimetheus was the epic worst one. You know, try and get a secretary to answer the phone. Hello, Epimetheus Corp. Our own employees couldn't say the name. You know.
And then there was the MFFI.
Oh yeah.
Product name. Multifunction flight instrument.
Well, I think with Laserblast, at least the story I've been told, is that you asked your sister, who's a graphic artist, to design the logo, to pick a name and design a logo for us.
Yeah.
And, she did a web search and found.
Yep. No, that's right. Now that you mentioned, yeah, right. I just remember not. We had you know, not picking the name, you know.
Yep. Right. That's what happens when the company's founded by engineers. The marketing sometimes suffers a little bit, but we've over the years added some marketing help, marketing staff, and picked things up a bit. Yeah.
I look back at some of the really early stuff, and it had literally architectural font. The blueprint font in the brochure. Well, that's what I knew. So, you know, of course, people would look at that and say, you know, that looks like, you know, there's an engineer, but there's nobody else in the company. They were right at the time, but you know, it showed. No, my sister helped. She was wonderful doing all the graphic arts. So we quickly got proper brochures and spec sheets and some web page design, and started selling. It's like boiling a frog. If you put them in cold water and turn up the heat gradually, they don't jump out. You've heard that phrase?
No, I've never heard that before. Dustin.